SpongeBob SquarePants will forever be a big part of my life. With the first episode premiering just 2 months to the date of my birthday, I will always be linked to this series in one way or another. One of my favorite games when I was younger was SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom because it provided me a sandbox area to roam around in and interact with my favorite Bikini Bottomites. In 2020, THQ Nordic revived the SpongeBob game series after being dormant for years and gave the team at Purple Lamp Studios the big task at remaking Battle for Bikini Bottom. In my review, I stated that the sandbox element that I loved as a kid was still there, while also still having great controls and beautiful visuals. But overall, I had a pretty negative experience due to a lack of polish in testing, bad camera angles, odd changes, and unnecessary difficulty spikes due to said lack of polish. In 2021, Purple Lamp revealed that they were working on a new game, a spiritual successor to Battle for Bikini Bottom that still hits all the good points of that game, but with their own unique twist for their own big Bikini Bottom adventure. It is my absolute pleasure to say that SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake is the best SpongeBob game I have ever played, and it knocks Battle for Bikini Bottom out of the sea. Ahoy there guys, Game Prime here, and this is my review of SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake.
Story.
Our story starts as best friends Patrick and SpongeBob make a routine trip to Glove World, where they meet Madame Cassandra, who gives them wish-granting mermaid tears for anything their hearts desire. Of course, they wish for too much and rip the space-time continuum, or is it the sea-time continuum, into disarray. With their friends sucked into different portals leading to many different wish worlds, the duo is dropped into a dismantled Bikini Bottom with the fates of the town, their friends, and the entire universe at stake.
Gameplay.
Just like its predecessor before it, SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake is a 3D platformer that takes you through 7 different wish worlds throughout the SpongeBob universe. This time, with a different gimmick attached to each world. However, the biggest difference between this game and Battle for Bikini Bottom is that Cosmic Shake is what I would describe as a story-based 3D platformer, whereas Battle for Bikini Bottom is a 3D platformer collectathon. The obvious difference being that one is more linear and story-focused, like an actual episode of the TV show, compared to you being placed in levels with a set amount of items to collect in order to proceed onward. Think about the difference between a game like Banjo-Kazooie against a game like Psychonauts 2. At first, I didn't know if this was the right change to make, but by the end of my 15-hour journey across all these wish worlds, I can confidently say, without a shadow of a doubt, this is the perfect way to make a SpongeBob game. With that being said, Cosmic Shake is definitely a more linear and straightforward game than Battle for Bikini Bottom, but I think that is a major strength that this game has over its predecessor. This game knows exactly what it wants to be, and has a way better direction than Battle for Bikini Bottom ever had. At the time, I'm sure Heavy Iron Studios wanted to make a collectathon platformer to match others that were released around that time, and they did exactly that. But if I realized anything after playing Rehydrated, it's that Battle for Bikini Bottom overall as a game has just not aged gracefully. It's because of this new linear style that I would recommend this game to anyone, whether they're a little kid experiencing a SpongeBob game for the very first time, or a seasoned veteran who started with a game like Legend of the Lost Spatula or Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. This game is truly for anyone who is a fan of SpongeBob, no matter their age. It is a little on the easier side compared to Battle for Bikini Bottom, but that's due to Battle for Bikini Bottom just being very unbalanced and unfair at times. Cosmic Shake is way more polished and balanced than Rehydrated or even the original Battle for Bikini Bottom. That being said, I still died a lot, I'm not perfect, and you will get wombo comboed. Or should I say, wombo comboed.
Patrick, I don't think wombo is a real word.
Come on, you know. I wombo, you wombo, he, she, me, wombo. Wombo, womboing.
I wonder if a fall from this height would be enough to kill me.
This game also introduced side quests / side missions that you can do in each wish world once you're tasked with them from a random NPC within Bikini Bottom. And it honestly adds a couple more hours to your playthrough if you decide to do so. In terms of collectibles, your main collectible are jellies, which you use to unlock more costumes as you progress through the game. You collect these jellies from finding them around each world and by destroying tikis, which have made a grand return from Battle for Bikini Bottom and is honestly the best thing they brought over from that game, because it is still insanely soothing and pleasing just smashing into a giant pile of tikis and collecting the jellies from them. I would always destroy the tikis if I ever came across them, even if that did end up screwing me over, as some tikis are used as platformers to reach specific areas. Your only other collectible in each level are the gold doubloons, which are needed to rank up your tier in order to get said tier's costumes. It's a system that works very well alongside the jellies. Those side quests I mentioned just a second ago also require you to usually find a set number of things within a level, bringing back a little bit of the collectathon aspect of Battle for Bikini Bottom, but this time as an optional alternative if you decide to go back and explore the world some more. Some doubloons and side quests can't be completed until you unlock moves in other worlds, which you can compare to a game like Banjo where you have to go back to previous worlds once you unlock moves needed. In the Cosmic Shake, you only play as SpongeBob compared to Battle for Bikini Bottom where you also have sections you need to complete as Patrick and Sandy. Originally, I thought it wasn't a good idea to have the game just as SpongeBob, but once again after experiencing the game, I wouldn't want it any other way going forward. In each Wish World, you learn a new move that will help you progress through said world, or help you defeat a new type of enemy. In this game, they introduced a plethora of new enemy types, and it was truly refreshing seeing so many new types as I progressed through the game, although some did have some odd hitboxes, as well as SpongeBob still having a large hitbox, which was one of the problems I stated Rehydrated having. Some enemies in this game also have health meters, which is something completely new, but it's a welcome addition as it fits some of the enemy types very well. The controls in this game are fantastic and is just a great evolution of those from Battle for Bikini Bottom. Your pause menu is your gateway to changing costumes, revisiting worlds through a quick warp system that was taken and evolved straight from Battle for Bikini Bottom, and it's also where you can look and browse awards, the in-game achievements which correlate to PlayStation trophies, and what I would imagine to be the same on Xbox and Steam for the retrospective achievements. Bikini Bottom once again serves as your main hub in between worlds, and it just warms my heart to still see a 3D platformer in 2023 have such a big, expansive, and immersive hub world. Those who played Battle for Bikini Bottom will instantly be right at home, as some of the locations are the same as in that game, though others have been changed around a bit. But it's a change that I don't even mind because of how well Purple Lamp expanded on a hub world and location we've been familiar with for going on 20 years. It's from this hub world where we could travel to 7 distinctly different Wish Worlds across the entire SpongeBob universe. Battle for Bikini Bottom veterans will recognize 6 of these even though they're completely rehauled versions, as well as being able to explore 2 completely brand new worlds that were not in Battle for Bikini Bottom. These 2 new worlds are easily my favorite in the entire game, and is solid proof that Purple Lamp doesn't need to heavily rely on what Battle for Bikini Bottom provided all those years ago. Each of the worlds aside from 2 were pretty good in length, with each taking me at least an hour and a half to complete. However, 2 worlds seem pretty short in my opinion, and it's a shame since I would have really liked to spend more time within each of them. Each world has a colorful cast of NPCs to talk to and interact with, all with funny dialogue that you do not want to miss. Some NPCs you may even recognize from the show, but I'm not going to say much else than that, so go break a leg and find them for yourselves. In about half of the worlds you visit will be the occasional boss battle. These feel pretty reminiscent of the bosses in Battle for Bikini Bottom, just, less robotic. Overall, I enjoyed these as they were a nice break from typical enemies, and even though they weren't really challenging, I still thought the design behind them were well executed. The only boss I didn't like at all was the final boss, which obviously I won't show, but compared to the Robobob boss in Battle for Bikini Bottom, it was a piece of cake. Or pie.
Those homemade pies sure look good.
Oh, these aren't homemade. They were made in a factory. A bomb factory. They're bombs.
And I really just thought it should have been a harder battle considering a boss I fought in a world previously had more health on its health bar than the actual final boss themselves did. That being said, I really enjoyed the concept behind the final boss, and those who are longtime Battle for Bikini Bottom fans will really appreciate the nod to something from that game that they implemented within the final boss. Cosmic Shake comes out almost 3 months before SpongeBob's 24th anniversary on air. With that in mind, there's a whole lot more to reference in this game compared to Battle for Bikini Bottom, which only had at least 2.5 seasons worth of content to reference within the game when it released back in 2003. Although don't feel bad if you haven't watched the show in many years, most references in this game are from the golden days of SpongeBob, which I consider to be seasons 1 through 5. The series staple gross-ups are also included in this game, and each time they're brought up, it just sweetens the dialogue that much more and really makes it feel like an episode of the show come to life at the palm of your big, meaty claws.
What did you say, punk? Big, meaty claws!
claws!
Well, these claws ain't for just attracting mates.
Bring it on, old man!
Graphics and performance.
Just like with Rehydrated, the Cosmic Shake runs on an Unreal Engine with nearly every part being smoother and more polished than its predecessor. I played the PS4 version of the game running on the PlayStation 5 for the best experience possible. At first, when the game got announced, I was curious as to why the game wasn't getting a native PS5 version, but after playing it, I can confidently say it doesn't need it. The game has very minimal load screens and really only loads when you boot the game up or go into different wish worlds. And even that sometimes they'll disguise a load screen with a cleverly placed.
One loading screen later.
All the characters are very expressive and have great animations, and are just once again more polished and refined versions of those seen in Rehydrated. There's a chunk of new idle animations as well, as some that were carried over from Rehydrated. The designs of the characters and the different wish worlds are beautifully done, and at first it really blew me away with how good the game looks. They nailed the design, look, and animation for everything in the entire game. One small thing that bugged me a lot in Rehydrated was the press O to skip cutscene button that was on the bottom of the screen during cutscenes. Unfortunately, it's still there within the cutscenes in this game, although it's a little bit smaller. I wish it would fade in and out because in my opinion, it just takes you out of what's going on within any cutscene because it's just there staring at you, menacingly.
He's just standing there, menacingly.
The game runs at 60 frames per second most of the time, although I did notice a lot of frame drops and short freezes, especially in Halloween Rock Bottom for whatever reason, and when the game autosaves. It wasn't drastic enough to completely remove me from the action, but it's still there and it's still very noticeable. Because I am playing on a version of the game that hasn't had any updates, I ran into some audio problems as well here and there, like dialogue cutting in and out at random times, or some instances where two pieces of dialogue will overlap each other. I also had some instances where in-game cutscenes would start to play a recognizable song from the show, but stops and cuts it dead short with no fade out. Gross-ups also didn't have the signature sound effects to go alongside them, but it's already been confirmed that it will be fixed in a future update. I only ran into one glitch in the game, and it was after I beat the main story. I went back to Western Jellyfish Fields to do side quests and collect the remaining doubloons I missed or couldn't get on my first visit. I collected a doubloon and it never registered that I picked it up on the pause menu screen, even though the in-game UI counter did register that I picked it up. It's not the biggest problem in the world, but it could cause me problems getting 100%, as I'm currently working toward that and the Platinum Trophy. There are some accessibility options in this game too, like colorblind support, which is always awesome to see as someone who is colorblind. There is one section, however, in Karate Downtown Bikini Bottom where you have to play a quick minigame of paparazzi taking pictures of you, and as they take pictures, the camera flash will go off many times. I think this could be a very sensitive area to those who are seizure prone, and even though they did put a warning like normal up when you start the game, I think this is something they should go and fix in a later update, just to be careful and considerate of those at risk and who are sensitive of flashing lights. Also, since we're talking about performance, I must mention the amazing performances of the original voice cast from the show. Tom Kenny, Bill Fagerbaki, Roger Bumpus, Mr. Lawrence, and Carolyn Lawrence for reprising all their roles. SpongeBob as a whole wouldn't be possible without them, and they knocked it out of the ballpark as per usual. It's a shame that Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy weren't able to appear in the game due to both Tim Conway and Ernest Borgnine passing away a few years back. However, there's a very sweet nod to the superhero duo in the game, and I will let you guys find that for yourself.
Music.
Battle for Bikini Bottom had an amazing soundtrack, and to this day I will hum and sing plenty of songs from that game's OST. I was overjoyed a few months ago when Purple Lamp confirmed that they were getting some of the composers from Battle for Bikini Bottom back for Cosmic Shake. I thought this game had a pretty good soundtrack, but it's going to take me a few more playthroughs for the music to really get soaked into my head. This game was composed by a group of people, those being Anderson Alden, Jake Boring, Aaron Kaplan, Tim J. Borquez, and the returning main composer for Battle for Bikini Bottom, Jimmy Levine. Out of all the locations in the game, I think Bikini Bottom, Western Jellyfish Fields, and Medieval Sulphur Fields have my favorite songs in the entire game. Many songs from the show will appear within in-game cutscenes as well, and I know any SpongeBob fan will recognize them as soon as they start the game. This is because the main menu theme is a very common song that you hear in the series. I was kinda taken aback by this and was expecting an original song for the main menu, but after thinking it over, It does kind of go in line with Battle for Bikini Bottom, since the main menu song for that game was just an instrumental version of the main SpongeBob theme song. One song I am heavily disappointed with, though, that was not implemented into the game at all, was Sweet Victory. Arguably the greatest song to ever grace a SpongeBob fan's ears. This song was used in the initial reveal trailer back in 2021, and the BFF Collector's Edition of this game even comes with a statue of SpongeBob in his Band Geek outfit. But the best they could do for Sweet Victory in this game was to act as the credits theme? I was severely disappointed with this, and thought they could have come up with a better idea on how to implement everyone's favorite SpongeBob song. Aside from that little hiccup, I really enjoyed this game's soundtrack and implementation of many songs from the show.
Score.
After playing Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, I was pretty hesitant on Purple Lamp Studios doing another SpongeBob game. In my review of that game, I said, and I quote, "I can't say I want to see another SpongeBob game from these guys though, unless they really polish it and take time to make it special." It is with my great pleasure that I can stand here today and say that they did just that. They made it special. I give SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake an 8 out of 10 for vastly improved gameplay, a fun story that feels like you're playing one big episode of the show, each Wish World being very fun, especially the 2 new ones that weren't previously in Battle for Bikini Bottom, for it having to be accessible to anyone, kids and adults alike, amazing references that longtime fans will love and appreciate, a fantastic voice cast, a great selection of costumes, a pretty good soundtrack, and for just overall giving me the SpongeBob game that I could have only wished for. This, in my opinion, is the new magnum opus of SpongeBob games, and I can't wait to see what Purple Lamp can do next with the series. If it's anything like Cosmic Shake, I will be invested on day one. They did it, guys. They were able to completely steer the ship around and make a brilliant SpongeBob game that I know 4-year-old me would have enjoyed, and a game that 23-year-old me enjoyed even more. Thank you so much to THQ Nordic for providing me with a review copy of this game. It means the world to me that I could cover a game and series that has been with me my entire life, and the fact that I loved it even more makes it just that much better. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like my review, please go subscribe for more in the future, as well as giving it a big thumbs up. Let me know if you're going to be picking up the Cosmic Shake, and if so, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. You can also check out me playing the game for the very first time here, where I did a video of me experiencing the first hour of the game, and then you could also watch me do an unboxing of the BFF edition as well. Thank you all again for watching. I will see you all soon.